Welcome back. I'm Randy Bueller, still joined by number 54 ranked Luis Scott Vargas. He's not actually 54 years old, despite what the chat keeps trying to accuse you of. Brad Nelson's speakers aren't working. We could hear him. He couldn't hear us. That's all right. We'll chat.
That's just the worst of both worlds.
Fair. That is the worst of both worlds. We are getting set up for the semifinal between Josh Utter-Leyton and Brian Kibler. We haven't really looked at Kibler's deck yet. Let's show everybody what Brian's going to be playing. It is 5-color Dragon Megamorph. All the Dragon Lords. Well, most of the Dragon Lords. 4 out of 5 Dragon Lords.
And this is what Paul played one of the weeks as well.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, this deck was 2 copies in the top 16 of that Grand Prix that Yuki Ichikawa won with Abzan Control.
All right, hey guys, the problem is like for some reason it keeps changing what speakers are being used. So like my microphone speakers are being used right now.
Brad Nelson, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
You have speakers you can both talk and hear now?
Yes, and I didn't know we were live.
Well, no worries.
I was hoping you were going to open with something like really offensive.
Yeah.
So, Brad, congratulations on the first round win, and
thank you.
You're very live for playoffs at this point.
I know things are going well after such a rocky 7 weeks. I mean, yeah, like didn't Jerry and Paul both lose? So if I win, I'm in.
Yeah, in fact, if you win, you're definitely in. You might even be able to back into a tiebreaker game with 1 win, as long as Josh doesn't win and pass both you and Paul.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. No, so Jerry lost. You definitely control your own destiny to pass him. Paul lost. You tie Paul with 1 more win for 3rd place.
Never have.
If you need Josh Utter-Leyton to lose to Brian Kibler, though, is what you need if you want to back in via the tiebreaker.
I mean, I could say something offensive right now, but only if Kibler's not watching.
I think you just did.
Perfect.
Also, he's not watching. He's getting set up for his match.
I'm just glad for Kibler that he now has more wins than Kenji Igashira during the Standard Super League. they were tied coming into this week.
Oh,
you're right. They were tied at 1 apiece, weren't they?
Yeah.
No, I can't believe it. Like Tom and I lived together. We both like didn't talk about decks. We shared afterwards so we could, not, just sit around in silence this whole like hour. And but we both just brought something kind of off the wall, which was pretty cool in my opinion. Like I didn't think Green White Devotion would be that bad of a call. I thought it was actually good against his Spectrum, but then he showed up with a deck that actually scared me. So.
What you like Green White Devotion? It's just if I had to play a tournament with a lot on the line right now, or you liked it against Tom?
I think Green White Devotion is a good deck when in our field. I thought no one was going to show up with Dragon Lord Tarkas or Jamoka's commands, and when those 2 cards aren't in the field, that's a really good deck. But that's what pushed out before. There's not much Abzan aggro, and I think we're all sick of Green Red Devotion by this point, or trying to hate at it, and no one's going to end up playing it. So that's why I went with the Devotion.
Got it. That makes sense. Have you looked at all at your matchup against Cuneo?
No, but if I would have to guess, I've already played it.
He's on Green-Black Constellation.
Yeah, the same. The Den Protector get you for 20 deck.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea how that goes, but I feel like I can run away with the game if I can contain Doomwake Giants, but I guess I don't have a way to contain them. I mean, I got Jamoka's command, so I don't know. I don't think that's that bad of a matchup, mostly because Cuneo is really attached to it. But he did almost beat me the last time we played.
Yeah, all of his wins in Standard Super League have come with this deck.
Yeah, I mean it is a cool looking deck. Like I mean I would maybe make him write an article on it, maybe LSP. Like I might have missed one, but
yeah, I mean he's been tuning this is how he's testing the deck. I wonder if he's gonna play in Providence actually.
It's not that bad. I played against it actually at the SCG Invitational a couple weeks back, but I was also again playing Green Red Devotion, which is a bad matchup. But the guy went really deep. Like he was I think he finished like 6-2 with the deck only losing to CVM and I playing Green Red Devotion. Like the deck's, I mean, I'll say it's a joke because, you know, when Kunio plays something funny, it's probably funny, but I think it's an actual deck. Like I think it's very good against non-Sylvan Caryatid decks.
Fair enough. You do have Sylvan Caryatids in your deck, though, for the semifinal.
Yeah.
You've got your playoffs on the line, though, but you've also got the battle for last place goes through you. There's like both the haves and the have-nots, both semifinals.
Oh, wow.
Right? It could be Kunio versus Kibler in the finals, which is what Paul Cheon is rooting for the record.
Wait, I don't actually know. I mean, I don't know how this works. Is this kind of like a eighth man out?
Yes.
Is that, yeah?
Yes. Kunio and Kibler are both fighting to avoid relegation out of the league.
Wow. All right. Well, I guess I have to help fate a little bit on this one.
Yeah. I mean, if it's Kunio versus Kibler in the finals, it is the battle to avoid last. If it's
Can there be a tie?
They cannot tie.
They can't tie for last at this point.
Okay.
Well, no, they can still tie for last if Brian wins, but
Brian loses in the finals. Yes.
If Josh beats Brian in the finals, we can still get a tie. So we're still live to have a tie for first, and we're still live to have a tie for last.
All right.
It's all happening. It's great. Yeah. So it could be you versus Josh for a playoff spot. It could be Brian versus Andrew for not last, and it can be any combination of those.
I'll just play my rounds and see what happens, I guess, because that's a lot of variables.
You know, that turned out to be a good strategy in Magic. Just show up in your matches. It's all good. All right.
Awesome.
We are just about ready to have Brian and Josh play. Thanks for chatting with us, Brad.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully I get a couple more interviews tonight. That's what I'm hoping. So hopefully this is the last time I was on the first SSL for season 1, I guess.
All right. Well, maybe we'll see you later then.
All right.
Yeah, we can look at the standings, show everybody exactly what's going on. I'm pretty sure we have solved everything correctly. Owen is in and has a bye. Tom cannot be passed by 2 people, so he's in and will be playing next week's semifinal. Paul clinging desperately to 3rd. Jerry is done at 70. Brad now on 65 and counting. Josh is on 55 and counting. It's funny. So our semifinalists are the bottom 4 guys.
Oh yeah, that's funny. That is part of what set up some more interesting interactions. You know, in the top 4 here, we could have had all matches that we could have had it almost already determined by depending on if we had Owen win, for example.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, the quarterfinals were all the top half versus the bottom half, and the bottom half won all 4 matches. I guess it helps to be hungry or desperate or something.
If being hungry is what it takes to win, I should win more matches.
Desperate, I guess. How are these draws shaping up?
Well, Josh's draw is pretty nice. He's again not got millions of lands, but he's got, anticipate to find more lands, and then has Thoughtseize, Silumgar, Scorn, and Disdainful Stroke. Even though he doesn't have second blue yet, this is still a pretty good hand to start with for his deck. Being on the draw doesn't even hurt all that much. Killer's deck isn't super fast.
Well, which lands do you play first? Like, are you playing Backwater on the first turn, or are you Thoughtseizing on the first turn and hoping to draw untapped blue?
I would play Backwater on the first turn. The thing is, you don't need to Thoughtseize very quickly. Like, you know that Brian doesn't have any great 2-drops. Like, yeah, he's got cards like Satyr Wayfinder or Sylvan Caryatid, but those aren't really what you're looking to counter.
So you're content to Thoughtseize on turn 3?
I'm content to Thoughtseize on turn 3 because I would like to go tap land into turn 2 Anticipate and a turn 3 Thoughtseize plus a counterspell. Basically, you expect Thoughtseize to trade for a card at some point, but you don't need to rush it. You don't need to do it immediately. It gets better the longer you wait. So it looks like you may have frozen, by the way.
Yeah, I can't quite tell if it's us. Oh. I think we're okay.
Oh, then my Skype is frozen.
Yeah, no, I think it's on our end. It's Skype.
Okay.
No.
No, Temple O'Malley's on the stack.
Is stuttering. Get that cleaned up. Josh did draw a 3rd land, so that's good news for Josh. I just saw a flurry of activity, which I think is actually Skype catching up. Yeah, everything seems to be working for us now. Seder Wayfinder chips away for 1. Josh has left up basically anticipate. Or, oh, he can Silumgar scorn a Courser here.
Yeah, which I would imagine you take the opportunity to do because you can
Yeah.
Disdainful Stroke something later. Though it looks like Brian is going to get the opportunity to resolve either Den Protector or Courser, most likely Courser, next turn, depending on what Josh takes with Thoughtseize.
Yep. Drawing that third land helped a lot. Josh was able to skip anticipating in favor of Silumgar Scorn. And now this turn he set up the Thoughtseize plus counter or anticipate. So what do you take with Thoughtseize here if you're Josh Utter-Leyton?
The problem is you can't counter. The only card you can target with Disdainful Stroke is Dragon Lord Jamoka, which you cannot counter with. So that's pretty annoying. Den Protector is the card that is going to get a spell no matter what. If you don't take it, depending on, because you don't have a removal spell. But Courser also provides a lot of advantage. I guess I would lean towards taking the Courser, but I could see taking the Den Protector. The Dragon Lord, I believe, is the last one.
Just trust in your ability to find a removal spell eventually.
Well, sorry, not counting Foul Tongue Invocation, which isn't really a factor.
Yeah, not really a card there. He does go for Den Protector, so Brian's going to get to resolve this Courser. Wayfinder chips away. I guess Brian doesn't know he's going to resolve Courser. The last one ran into a Silumgar Scorn, so he does not play the land. He wants the value with Courser, so he risks getting Force Spiked again.
Which I think is very reasonable.
Yeah, so Brian now has a Courser in play. He saw Haven of the Spirit Dragon on top of his library, but chose to play Opulent Palace from his hand, which is kind of interesting.
He's giving up a card, but in exchange he's getting to cast an Ojutai, which actually plays perfectly to Josh's Disdainful Stroke. So Josh is very happy with that play.
It makes sense from Brian's point of view, though. Like, if he plays the Haven, sure, he's up a card, but he probably doesn't get to do anything next turn.
Yeah, and he values the tapping 5 mana and playing a 5-drop rather than drawing an extra card, which, again, makes sense. This isn't really a race to board position here, so I could see, this work out well for Josh, but I think Kibler's play does have logic to it. So Josh has been hitting with lands, and now Josh is going to be able to go Disdainful Stroke your Ojutai, untap, play my own. Kibler presumably, if he draws a 6th land, can play a Dragon Lord Jamoka, which actually beats Ojutai in a fight.
Well, you're going to play Ojutai into a Foul Tongue Invocation hand? If you're Josh? You know about the Foul Tongue.
Well, you have Silumgar in your hand, though. I don't know. Maybe depending on what you draw.
Clearing a path with Ojutai so that Silumgar can come down.
Silumgar is very good against Brian's deck if it's safe. So.
All right. Brian draws that Haven, reveals Ojutai on top of his own library.
So this is definitely getting Disdainful Stroke, even though there's one coming up next. And another advantage to playing Silumgar here, you know that there's Dragon Lord Jamoka in hand. So if you play Ojutai and Brian uses Foul Tongue, you're delaying the Jamoka by a turn.
Fair. So stroke on Ojutai. Now the question is, how does Josh play this turn? You think he should tap out for?
Yeah, I think you for sure slam. And if you're Kibler, now you have to decide, do you want to play one of your expensive dragons or do you play your 3-drop spell? The problem is if you play your Dragon Lord Jamoka and then you get it killed by something like a Hero's Downfall, then you are in trouble because then Ojutai gets to hit you first, so you're just down an extra card. So it's, I think, a much safer just to cast Foul Tongue here. You could also cast your own Ojutai, but that's a little less tempting.
But I mean, Foul Tongue sets you up next turn to go Thoughtseize into Ojutai, right? I think his mana supports that. Yeah.
I like the Thoughtseize into Ojutai line. I might just Foul Tongue here and then set up Thoughtseize into Ojutai. Playing an Ojutai here does get you an extra hit, though. I mean, there is an advantage to doing that. So Josh, well, he doesn't have the 6th land anyway, so now he gets to play his Temple. I actually don't love Dissolve here. You can't counter Brian's 6-drop. You're going to get Thoughtseize next turn. Actually, this next turn's going to be pretty ugly for Josh. Thoughtseize plus Foul Tongue Invocation plus hit with Ojutai is actually going to work out really well for Brian. So,
yeah, his decision to play Ojutai there rather than use all his mana on Dromoka really sets this up, right? Having the Hexproof Dragon means he's in no danger of getting hit by Josh's Ojutai. Yeah, I like the way Brian's played this.
It's definitely a higher upside play. The thing is, Josh now can just attack with his own Ojutai though, because he knows about the foul. He knows about the Foul Tongue. You're just losing a lot of value on your Foul Tongue here, potentially.
Josh has got to play other dragons eventually. You've got stuff to do. I think you just block.
Yeah, I know Josh would be happier if Kibler blocked, I believe.
You think?
Well, I mean, getting to draw a card is not nothing, so I think Josh is actually kind of happy either way. I don't know. I believe I would have just cast the Foul Tongue, but I think that this is an interesting. This play has higher upside. If you cast Ojutai, I kind of like just if you're gonna block, you should have just cast Foul Tongue, because now you just traded Ojutais and have a Foul Tongue in hand instead of trading Foul Tongue for Ojutai and having Ojutai in hand. It would be much better to have Ojutai and go, Thoughtseize Ojutai rather than play a Dragon Lord Jamoka.
Oh, I see your point. Especially now you have 6 mana and you have Thoughtseize Dromoka.
Yeah. So, I don't think blocking was bad once you're at that point, but I think if you're going to block, you should just cast Foul Tongue. And if you don't want to block, if you want to set up the Thoughtseize plus Foul Tongue and hit with Ojutai, that's fine too. Just this feels like kind of like splitting the difference and using your spells like somewhat inefficiently. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, now the fact that you Dromoka, you've got Thoughtseize in hand, and now Dragonlord Silumgar is going to come down.
Yeah, now Foul Tongue is horrible for you because if you cast Foul Tongue, you just sacrifice your own dragon.
That was a catastrophe for Brian. Yeah, the split the difference line, that did not work out, that sequence of turns. Now what?
I mean, you're kind of priced into casting Thoughtseize at the very least. You can use Wayfinder to improve the top of your deck, I guess. So, yeah, you can't attack Silumgar. Silumgar reminds me of Sower of Temptation, which is like one of my favorite cards. Actually, it's a super high variance card where if it works, it's so insanely good. Silumgar's a 3/5 Death Touch, and setting aside the stealing part. So, yeah, just having a Thoughtseize is something.
Yeah, he takes the Ugin presumably. We're almost there, right?
Yeah, you'd have to take Ugin because it's just the most threatening card, and this game is going to last long enough. But Josh gets to have Anticipate Bioblight in hand. Just gets to next turn just attack for 8 and gain 5, or just attack for 5 and then gain 5 and then leave a 3/5 back. Either one is pretty good.
I think Brian has to just Foul Tongue away his own Dromoka. I mean, what else is he doing in this game, right? He's not drawing an answer next turn. He knows he's drawing a Deathmatch Raptor next turn.
Yeah, as painful as it is, I think that's what you have to do. It's always so awkward to do something like that, but I don't think that Brian has a choice here. And Brian does have 2 Havens of the Spirit Dragon, so the game is definitely not over.
Right. Yeah, if he Foul Tongues instead of the Ojutai, though, he would have Thoughtseized away the Silumgar when he played his Ojutai. This is a totally different game. Dragon Lord Silumgar is not messing around. Oh, dig through time for Josh.
And yeah, dig is a great card, but Josh had his draw step plus anticipate. Josh is favored to find something.
Agreed. No, that's fair.
Though Den Protector plus Raptor, Kibler's definitely not even close to being out of gas here.
Are there any Raptors in the yard yet?
Unless he milled one, it doesn't look like he milled one with the
Wayfinder.
The previous Wayfinder, so I do not believe so.
Okay. Yes, Dragonlord Silumgar forced to play defense here. It's pretty good at playing defense, but
Dragonlord Silumgar is excellent at playing defense, and Josh knows that he's going to have to face down an uncounterable Dragonlord Jamoka if Kibler so deems it fit, while plus a Den Protector. So yeah, something like Silumgar Scorn, it's not as appealing as it would otherwise be. Though Brian is not, especially if he has to sack the Haven, very close to using Dragonlord Jamoka as Orm's Chant, which is always funny, where you cast Jamoka then cast your real spell. So if Josh can dig into a removal spell, then Kibler goes cast Jamoka, then Josh goes untap, kill it, and has counterspell up. But Deathmist Raptor is still a pretty threatening card here.
Yeah, so Josh anticipates for Silumgar Scorn. Now he's going to dig through time. Looks like there's an Ojutai, 3 lands.
Yeah, if he doesn't find a Hero's Downfall, then a bot back Jamoka could be a problem. Ojutai is good, though. Ojutai starts getting something going, though. Again, it can't get past Jamoka. Kind of all of this hinges on being able to find a way to kill it.
He's thinking about this dig.
He's got some choices. I mean, they might not be great choices. It's funny that when you have all bad cards, digs very fast. When you have all good cards, digs very fast.
Crux.
Crux is interesting. It's actually like really awkward here.
Yes. Brian's the one who has mixed dragons and non-dragons.
Yeah. Well, Haven of the Spirit Dragon is pretty good. That means if the Silumgar dies, you can get back Silumgar and rebuy. Silumgar is very, very good. I'll say that again. And it's also an untapped land, so Josh can have Silumgar Scorn up, which Brian can still play around by getting Dragonlord Jamoka back, but I think that having it up is still a lot better than not.
Here is Ojutai teaming up with Silumgar.
And Josh could cast Bile-Blight on the Deathmist Raptor if he was so inclined.
He can even get 2 Wayfinders.
He could also get the 2 Wayfinders.
Nice. Yeah, Josh is going to keep playing defense. Brian is going to use his Haven.
Yeah, he's got to use Haven. I mean, that's really what the only thing you got going for you here. I mean, you're drawing Den Protector. You're still got some good card flow, but using Haven is important here.
Oh, Silumgar is going to get his beat on.
If you're not blocking Deathmist Raptor, Courser isn't going to sacrifice itself to deal 2 damage with Satyr Wayfinders, so that makes sense. It's a free attack if you know you're not going to block. And Josh has all the information.
Mm-hmm.
So now, Brian's got 2 options here. Dragonlord Jamoka has the highest upside, but Ojutai is the safest, except Silumgar Scorn's a real thing, so I think that just makes Jamoka win the tiebreaker there.
He goes for Ojutai.
Yeah. Brian hasn't seen a Downfall or a Silumgar Scorn. He has to choose which one to play around. There are a few more removal spells than counter spells total, but this is not going to work out incredibly well for Brian. He doesn't get to play 2 spells in the same turn because he had to sacrifice a land there, so he's going to tap 5, going to get a card countered here. No matter which one he plays, it's going to get countered. If he plays a face down Den Protector or an Ojutai.
He's going to attack the Deathmist Raptor first. Josh probably doesn't want to trade Ojutai for it.
No, there's no way Josh is. He's not going to block and he's not going to Bile-Blight.
Brian looks like he's going for Ojutai, not Den Protector.
Which I think makes sense. You want to play your 5-mana spell here, especially since next turn you got 2 3-mana spells in hand. And this works out very well for Josh.
Silumgar Scorn fast enough.
Oh yeah, because now Josh gets to, well, if he can Ojutai into a counterspell, he can smash for 8 and then cast Crux, killing everything else.
Mm.
He knows about that Hero's Downfall, and he knows about the Den Protector, so Brian has good plays here, but it's still pretty tempting to do that. Looks like Josh is just going to run the attack with Ojutai, lead back Silumgar. which means he's not planning on casting Crux. He's just going to wait on that, I assume. His ideal card to see here is Silumgar Scorn, or I guess even Dissolve would be pretty nice. Josh is also getting close-ish to getting to Haven back Ugin and then play Ugin, so he needs one more land because the Haven goes away, and once we get to that point, that's pretty big. Like Josh can set up a turn where he goes like tap land this turn, cast Bioblight to not die or anything, untap, get back Ugin, play Ugin, exile everything.
If you're a Paul Cheon fan, you want Brian Kibler to win this match. If you're a Brian Kibler fan, you also want Brian Kibler to win this match because if he doesn't win this, he will not be in the next season.
Well, this game is not, I don't think, going well for him. At this point, Josh isn't completely out of the woods yet. He's reasonably low life total, and Kibler has a number of powerful options, but I feel like Josh is ahead here, given that he's got the Haven in play, and given that he's got, what he has in his hand. Here, I like probably just Bioblighting, though.
Well, he took a land to set up the Ugin play.
Yeah.
He took a land from Ojutai so that he can have lands in play. Haven, he can Ugin next turn now, right?
Yeah. No, I actually like not Bioblighting here, now I think about it. Because of the Ugin, you would rather not end up in that spot. And now Brian has to decide whether he wants to play a Den Protector into removal, which is, again, always a pretty risky option. So now Kibler really has to, or he decided not to play that. So now Josh gets back Ugin. I think this is the turn where you just slam. You get to slam Brian down to 9, and then Ugin -3, which gets rid of Raptor forever. Death Mist Raptor, to be clear. And then Josh did draw a land that turn, which isn't really what you want, but and Brian's going to draw a Murderous Cut to kill the Silumgar, but he can't play Den Protector, get back Hero's Downfall, and use Hero's Downfall on the same turn. So your Ugin's safe for at least an extra turn. You get to wipe out Den Protector if you plus it. This looks like it's pretty good.
Yep. Josh wipes out the board with Ugin. Brian is going to get to resolve his Den Protector, is the only good news here for Kibler.
So it's Den Protector resolving, Murderous Cut killing Silumgar, and then Kibler presumably has to get back Hero's Downfall to kill Ugin in an extra turn, which gives Josh a draw step. Yeah, the game really isn't over here.
No, I mean, Josh is down to just a couple removal spells.
And Brian still has a Haven in play.
Mm-hmm.
So presumably you Murderous Cut the Silumgar now. Yeah, you might as well tap 2 mana for it, I suppose. Just make sure not to exile the card you want to bring back, which, again, I'm assuming is Hero's Downfall, because it just seems way too risky to do anything else. But, yeah, Josh does have 2 removal spells, both of which can deal with Brian's threats, especially since Crux does kill either dragon Brian brings back here. Oh.
Big through time for Josh Utter-Leyton.
Yeah.
Let's turn the corner.
Now Josh is very far ahead. I mean, the dig on a relatively empty board, especially since the removal spells now make the dig even better when by themselves they didn't pressure Brian all that much. That they did mean that we know Josh has time to utilize all the cards off dig, and we know that Josh is not going to be pressured while doing so. He can dig into dig plus a counterspell and feel pretty good about that.
Well, he's going to go ahead and dig main phase before he even decides what to do with his Ugin.
Yeah, if Brian finds, or rather if Josh finds like an Ojutai, he'd definitely rather just play it here. The digs like this are the best. The digs where you need to hit like a specific card or 2 specific cards are always like very, you're like peeling one by one just to try to find out. The dig here where it's like, I don't care what I see. If I see any good cards, I'm just going to win the game. Or those are a lot more fun to resolve, let me tell you.
Silumgar Scorn, Haven of the Spirit Dragon.
That's not in the top 20% of digs, but the fact that you can go play Haven, sack Haven, and then use Silumgar's Scorn is pretty good. So it's basically all that Josh needs, especially since he now gets to counter the Hero's Downfall. Yeah, maybe that dig actually was just great. It was a Dragon plus a Silumgar Scorn, so
Sounds great.
Yeah, never mind. It was just all great cards. Not that Josh needed a ton to win this game, I don't think, but
Ugin does kill Den Protector as we predicted. Brian does flip it to get a Hero's Downfall as we predicted. Josh will play that Haven, so he has the ability to put a dragon in his hand, both to cast it and also to turn that Scorn into a counterspell. Deathmist Raptor is Brian's draw.
And I think there's a shot that Kibler concedes to Haven, get back Ojutai, Silumgar, Scorn your downfall here.
Yeah, the fact that Ugin exiles means he doesn't even have Raptor shenanigans to pull off.
And I think an Ugin in play on 6 is worth using that line of play. Like, yeah. There's some merit to thinking, like, whatever, I'll just let Ugin die and I'll just play Ojutai with counterspell backup, but I think an Ugin on 6 is just good enough already. It looks like Josh is going for Silumgar just to be a little safer and assume Ugin's his win condition, I guess.
I mean, Brian's only at 9, so doesn't take that many turns.
It's true. It's actually a very short amount of time here.
So gets Silumgar, uses Scorn to defend Ugin. Brian down to just one Deathmist Raptor. And your prediction is that Death is going to miss Raptor?
I think this game, yeah. Josh has managed to flip this game from losing to winning. I think here against no cards, you could Bioblight. I kind of like just go shoot you Silumgar, take Deathmist Raptor, and then you've got like multiple insane threats out.
Yeah. I could kill your creature with Foul Tongue and gain 4 life. I'd rather kill you with it. Oh, the Dismal Backwater, though. Doesn't get to leave up Foul Tongue. It's not all perfect. It's close enough.
Should be game.
Josh Utter-Leyton takes the 1-0 lead. He's spent most of the season hanging out at the bottom of the standings, but just like Brad Nelson, the late run could still make this playoffs. We've actually got the playoff bracket, which I find, I don't know, this bracket I find amusing. The fact that Owen Turtenwald has just already staked his claim long enough to make the graphics. It is a cut to 3 at the end of tonight. Number 2 will play number 3 next week, so there's no real difference between second and third. Owen's got the buy into the finals. We got to figure out who the last 2 players are. And Josh Utter-Leyton, staking a late claim, controls his own destiny. He did not control his own destiny when today started. When today started, Paul could have gotten enough points to make it impossible for Josh to make the playoffs. But as of right now, Josh is, 3 more game wins away from claiming that 3rd spot.
Yeah, Josh needs to put this match away and then win his finals match.
Sideboarding do much for this matchup? I mean, these are 2 relatively well-known decks, right?
They are. The strategies that these decks are employing is not, is again not unknown. Like Josh gets to board in cards like Thoughtseize is decent. Ultimate Price is definitely bad.
Is this a Dragon Lord Prerogative matchup?
Yeah, Ashok and Dragon Lord's Prerogative and Disdainful Stroke are all plausible. Bioblight is fairly mediocre.
Sure.
But a lot of the cards in your deck are good. Foul Tongue's actually pretty bad against all the Satyr Wayfinders. So I could see Josh just trimming those and just going with Thoughtseizes and Disdainful Strokes as his way to deal with Brian's threats. See if Brian has any good options here. Take a look at his deck list and let's see. So Brian has more dragons, I guess, which isn't too bad. Other than that, I mean, I don't actually like boarding in cards like Ugin against a control deck with counterspells. Duress is actually decent, though. Duress is quite good. Crux of Fate is also a possibility, though not one I'm very excited about. When your opponent has all dragons and you have all dragons, it's just not that great of a card.
What do you think of Faltong on Brian's side of this matchup?
Faltong on Brian's side is much better because Josh doesn't have chumps to throw in the way, and Brian's main deck doesn't have that many dead cards either. Hero's Downfall and Murder's Cut are not at their best. Silumgar makes Faltong look pretty bad, or pretty foul, if you will. It just blanks it so easily.
Ojutai makes you happy to have it, though. Ojutai with nobody to take the bullet for the team.
Yeah, Ojutai is the reason that Faltong is good.
All right, on to game 2. Brian leads with Citadel. He's got not a whole lot going on. I mean, Wayfinder, Raptor, he's got stuff to do. Yeah, Thoughtseize helps.
So it looks like Josh did leave the ultimate price in just to kill Courser is basically the main thing. I mean, Den Protector and Raptor are not cards you want to aim at.
Josh's draw looks quite good. I guess he doesn't get to have blue on turn 2, does he? It's all as blue comes into play tapped.
He doesn't get to have blue in turn 2, but Brian's not going to play anything on turn 3 that Josh really wants to counter anyway.
He would counter a Courser. But, I mean, he has the ultimate price, so that's just as good. Oh, and he draws Island. Now, is he really not worried about turn 3? Does he go ahead and take the opportunity to play a Temple?
Well, I think you play the Island here. You can
I think you play Island, too. He leaves up both Scorn and ultimate price.
Right, and there's a decent chance that you play Island this turn. You don't have to use Scorn, and then turn 3 you can play the Temple, and then you set, because you want to leave one of your untapped lands in order to play Dragonlord Ojutai on turn 5. So you want to go untapped land, tap land, untapped land.
All right, Brian's turn 3 is Deathmatch Raptor. Now, Scorn, ultimate price.
Could do neither. It's kind of annoying to use a card on a Deathmatch Raptor, but you don't really want to just take 3 forever. I like ultimate pricing here.
Josh agrees with you.
Yeah,
I agree that
it's
it is annoying to put in the graveyard, but you have to.
Yeah. Brian needs to draw a spell here. Hero's Downfall is not really a spell. It's interesting. There are times when you just don't want to Thoughtseize here. Like, I actually probably wouldn't Thoughtseize in this spot specifically because you have nothing else to play this turn you care about. You don't care if Josh counters your Sylvan Caryatid. I think if you're Josh, you have to Silumgar Scorn here. If you don't Scorn and Brian just takes your Dragonlord, your Silumgar Scorn is very, very bad. But I would rather, because Brian has a lot of mana, wait till the turn you're going to play your good spell, then Thoughtseize that turn. Because Josh has no 4-drop in his deck that you're really worried about. Ashiok's a card.
Brian did manage to get rid of the counterspell with his Thoughtseize.
Right, but you did it on a turn where Josh wouldn't have been able to do anything else otherwise, and Brian couldn't do anything else. If you present Thoughtseize plus threat in the same turn, Josh either has to let the Thoughtseize resolve and let you see his hand, or counter that and not be able to counter the secondary threat. See, for example, now if Brian plays a Den Protector, it just gets dissolved. Whereas if he had a Thoughtseize in his hand, Josh would either have to let Brian see his hand, take Ojutai, and then just pass, or play Den Protector. So it is close. I mean, it's tough to be mana inefficient. I understand why you don't want to do it, but this has played out really well for Josh.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I'm just mostly playing devil's advocate.
No, it's interesting to examine why you might do these different things, because sometimes you do fire off Thoughtseize in that spot. It's not a guaranteed, win. It's the play. It's the sort of thing that people, I think, too often want to know hard and fast rules when those just don't exist in Magic.
Well, Josh got to dissolve Den Protector. Brian continues to have this threat light draw. He's closing in on Ugin, sort of, couple away. But now we're at the Ojutai stage of the festivities for Josh Utter-Leyton.
Fortunately for Josh, had he played Ashiok there, then Brian would have missed on his duress. Brian actually could be in very good shape here. He's got 6 mana. If Josh misses, then attacks, Brian goes Downfall to Ojutai, and then if he draws 2 lands, he can just play Ugin. But Josh has, of course, a lot of cards he can draw into it that would be good. I think you anticipate first here, because if you hit a Thoughtseize, you'd rather Thoughtseize before attacking with Ojutai. You really don't want to run Ojutai into Downfall if you can avoid that.
So you can scry land before they anticipate? Now, you said to only do that if you're looking for some one specific thing, right?
Or, yeah, if you're looking for a specific thing, or like you just need a spell right away, whereas I think Josh might think he's in that spot. He really wants a counterspell or a Thoughtseize before he decides to commit with Ojutai here. Looks like now it's down to counterspell, or he's just going to pass. He's just not even interested in running into anything. Well, Dragon Lord Jamoka is not a bad draw, but it does open the door for Josh to go anticipate and response, because otherwise he just can't cast a spell. Find a removal spell, untap, kill the Jamoka, attack with Ojutai. Oh, Josh's top card must be good. That's why he's thinking here.
Okay.
If his top card wasn't good, like his top card, if it's a removal spell, he just doesn't cast Anticipate there.
How about Ugin? Does that count?
Ugin is good.
And now he anticipates main phase into a downfall.
Wow, yeah. This is it's all turning up, Raptor. I mean, this sequence has just been very good for Josh. Just like both games 1 and 2, the way the cards came out and the way the cards got played favor Josh, when I think both games could have easily swung in the other direction. It's just like these small decisions, have cascaded into like turns where advantage gets pressed. And that's really what happens in Standard. I think these games are somewhat emblematic of Standard in particular, where all your cards are similar and they all trade very well. So when you get the odd hit in with Ojutai, or when your Silumgar blanks on opposing Foul Tongue, that one card swing is huge. Each player is operating on like a 1 or 2 card margin.
Josh does get in a hit with Ojutai. And he's on, what, 7 now? Ashiok, Thoughtseize, and Land are the 3 cards he's debating.
It's funny because Thoughtseize would be so much better here, but Josh has no way of knowing that Brian has an 8-drop in his hand.
Josh elected for Ashiok. Bad turn for Brian. I mean, he gets to take a Courser and downfall. Courser even finds an Orborg right away.
Yeah, that Courser was a great draw. Getting to go see him, and the pendulum's almost kind of swung here, because now Brian goes Courser, flip a land, which I really need for Ugin, downfall your Ojutai, and now, I mean, Josh has got some good stuff going on too, but especially with the draw of Dig, but it is definitely, a swingy game.
Yeah, Brian's the one with the Courser in play. So that is his Seder Wayfinder, which will migrate over toward his library for you. Josh going ahead and casting Dig main phase.
Yeah, I mean, I like main phasing Dig. I think people tend not to do that as often as they should. Ultimate price is decent. Though here, it's kind of an interesting spot. If you take ultimate price with the intention of killing Courser, it's interesting. Do you want to, I guess you Ashiok to see Kiblers top of his deck and then ultimate price the Courser? If you don't take Ashiok, let's say you're not playing Ashiok this turn, I would actually rather ultimate price Courser now. You don't want Kibler to know the top of his deck when he has Seder Wayfinder in hand. Because if it's a bad card, he'll play it, and if it's a good card, he won't. So you're actually giving Kibler the extra information when it matters, when normally it's the other way around. This must be a difficult decision. So Josh is electing against ultimate price.
He took land, number 8. And
Josh could play Ashiok, but getting it would get hit down to 2, and I don't actually know how much you want to mill the Seder Wayfinder or not. Ooh, Haven. One of the strengths of this deck is that 4 of its lands are just spells. Like Havens of the Spirit Dragon are just awesome here.
Yep. What's Brian thinking about?
We could slam land. I mean, he's going to play the land off the top of his deck, clearly.
Right.
The question is, do you play Ugin or not this turn? You could. You can't get back and play Dramoka this turn, so Ugin's your best play in terms of oh, this is draw step. Josh actually wants to downfall the Courser now. Interesting.
Got it. No Haven for you. And it means that if Brian wants to play his Wayfinder, then he won't. He'll be milling his way through that.
Yeah, Brian does get to pick that up off of. So we could end up in a situation where Josh goes like dueling Ugins. See, Josh goes Ugin, I guess -2 to kill all the Wayfinders. Though, if Josh goes Ugin minus and Kibler doesn't hit another land, then Kibler might not be able to play his own Ugin, which is funny.
It's true.
Oh, and Kibler elected against taking the Haven. He did not want the third Haven, thinking he wasn't going to use 3 this game.
Took a Temple instead. Wayfinder chips away. Okay. Brian plays his land. He's got 7 lands and a Caryatid. He's got Ugin in his hand. Josh has 8 lands and an Ugin in his hand alongside an Ashiok.
The dueling Ugins is always pretty funny.
Josh is looking at Ashiok with
Well,
down.
if Kibler scried to the top, then Ashiok gets a little more appealing. A pair of courses. So now, what looks like the most likely is...
Josh did not leave up downfall mana?
He did. There's Urborg in play.
Oh, Urborg's in play. My
Yeah.
bad. Urborg's in play, of course. He deliberately looked like he didn't leave up downfall mana, and I fell for it.
Well, I think he also just tapped the basics, or the basic swamp at the very least, because it's easier to tap.
Sure.
Kibler's just going to slam Ugin. It's going to kill Ashiok. Ugin's then going to get downfalled. And then Josh is going to... He could play his own Ugin and minus the stuff in play. Then Brian has his 2 Havens against Josh's draw step.
The 2 Havens sound like a pretty big edge for Brian right here.
Especially since there's an Ugin in play. I mean... Or rather, an Ugin in the graveyard. Like, once the Ugin goes to the graveyard, like, Haven getting back Ugin without your Caryatid does leave Kibler technically 1 mana short of casting it, but still.
All right. Brian plays his Ugin. He gets to go up to deal 3 damage to Josh, which, of course, he's going to redirect to Ashiok. No cards in hand, but those 2 Havens. Pretty good.
Yeah, Haven is what's keeping Brian in this game. And it was kind of true of last game, even though Josh did end up winning. Without the Havens, Brian's deck is much, much, much worse. But that's part of the reason the deck exists is that Haven does exist.
Josh going to go for, end step, downfall your Ugin. He can untap and play his own Ugin. Oh, he just did.
Every time these games look close, Josh just draws a dig, which again is part of why Josh's deck is so good. Is that
that's why it exists.
Time just bam, that's just game. Yeah, we were having a discussion of whether Delve cards have been good because they ended up getting banned in Modern, banned in Legacy, restricted in Vintage. I think they've added so much to Standard that I think overall Delve was just great. I mean, Dig and Cruise have added a lot to Standard, and I don't think they wrecked other formats. I think that they, those decks ended up going away eventually, but I really like what they've added to Standard.
Oh, he plussed Ugin.
Well, Wayfinders can't attack Ugin very effectively, so that makes sense. So now Brian can play Ojutai, which will then get devoured by Ugin. So, I mean, you have to just start running spells into Ugin, I guess, because you play Ojutai, Ugin has to go down to 3, and then you can presumably Haven back your own Ugin to kill Ugin.
You have to top deck a land to make this play work, but it seems like the right line.
Yeah.
Ugin -5 is going to kill the Caryatid, leaving Brian with 8 lands, one of which is the Haven.
So now, again, we're back to Josh scrying first, because it's really important what he hits off Dig, perhaps. Because Dig... What Josh would like to hit off Dig is a reason to not have to minus Ugin or a counterspell for Brian's Ugin, because Josh knows that it's coming.
He scries. And here's the Dig.
Now he's tapping a bunch of mana for Dig.
It's only got 6 cards in his yard.
Yeah, I guess he doesn't want to go to straight 0.
I mean, how much does he need to leave up, right? 5
Yeah,
for Dragon?
At this point, he's tapping 3 and leaving 5 up. Yeah, there aren't that many spells that cost more than that. It does mean he can't, or he's less likely to cast 2 spells in the same turn, but there aren't that many combinations of 2 spells that you really want. And if Josh finds like a Hero's Downfall or something like a targeted removal spell, also Josh has tapped 2 blue, which he did not, then he gets to use that when Ojtai attacks and does not have to minus Ugin. So the reason that Josh scribed before playing Dig is he wants to, the spells he's looking for, like again, like Downfall or a counter spell, like an action spell, are important enough that he's willing to scry first and kind of lose a little bit of value on the scry because he's just about to dig in order to up the chances that Dig finds the spell this turn. Next turn does not matter as much.
Disdainful Stroke. And another Dig. That's pretty much just what you said he wanted.
And tapping more mana for Dig also helps because you have other Digs in your deck.
Mm-hmm. And Havens, right?
Haven is another good example.
All right. None of this changes the fact that Ugin needs to deal with Ojtai. So Ugin goes down -5. That takes care of Ojtai, Caryatid, and Wayfinder. Brian has a Haven of his own. But whatever he gets back, well, if he gets Ugin, he runs it into Disdainful Stroke. He has a Dromoka in there, doesn't he?
He does, and that would be, you know, a pretty good card to get. Not even necessarily Psychic. It's not unlikely that Josh is digging for a counterspell here. There's less upside if you get Dromoka, certainly. The fact that that Kibler doesn't have an 8th land. Let's see. No, he would be missing an 8th land.
Right. Ugin only works if he top decks a land.
Yeah, getting Ugin back might actually just be too risky.
I think you get Dromoka.
Yeah, I like that play.
Oh, and he top decks a Den Protector.
Den Protector's good too. So Dromoka can't kill Ugin right away because Ugin gets to plus up to 6 here. Or no, it goes up to 5. So yeah, Dromoka can actually work. So Josh needs to find a removal spell. He gets to cast Dig for 6 mana here. He could pay 7 actually and just leave 2 up plus the land in his hand. There aren't any 4 mana spells, are there, that he can get that are relevant? Yeah, I don't think. I guess he's just going to go for the full amount. Again, Josh is relying on Dig to figure out something decent here.
How about Crux?
Crux plus Haven is decent. It means that Josh gets to Haven back to Ugin.
If he had paid 1 additional mana last turn and left 1 card in his yard, he would have been able to dig into a Crux here. Speaking of psychic plays.
Yeah. Because presumably Ugin's going to die, and then Brian may or may not play Den Protector. Oh, wow.
Brian just keeps drawing hits?
This is interesting. Brian actually runs into way more trouble if he goes Silumgar, take your Ugin. Though I think it actually is very appealing play because if Josh had a removal spell, he would have killed Dromoka. That's very clear. You can't cast spells on your opponent's turn with that in play. So Brian knows he can automatically kill Ugin, but he could also go Silumgar, take it, shoot you down to 11, attack you down to 6, and then problem is then Crux just destroys you.
Yes.
And Crux is a card Josh reasonably could have found and not be able to cast. This is a tough play.
Wow. So the greedy play is to steal Ugin. The safe play is to kill it. Brian goes for safety. And now he follows up with a Den Protector, right? You're even playing around Crux a little bit.
The thing is, too, is if you Den Protect... Oh, he's going to Den Protector Thoughtseize.
Oh, my.
And get a bunch of Raptors back. Oh, this isn't going to work out well. The problem with this is that Josh just gets to Haven back Ugin and exile everything now. Whereas if he left the Den Protector face down, Josh couldn't do that, and then Den Protector could flip up and get 2 Raptors end of turn. So
I mean, he gets the Crux. This part looks good, but he killed Ugin.
yeah, it's on the board though. The Haven
on the board. The Haven is on the board. He's got the mana. He just activates Haven to take a Ugin, plays a Ugin, -6. Oh, but then Brian steals that one, I guess. Still, it undoes all of this. Oh, he chose to have one of the Death Mist Raptors come back face down.
Okay, that helps a lot. Yeah, having the Death Mist face down is good. 2, 3, 6. So Josh does get to Ugin and minus.
Crux.
Well, this is interesting because Josh still has Disdainful Stroke up is the thing after all of this.
Does he? 4, 8. Yeah, he has 10 lands. He can Ugin and leave up Stroke.
What Josh could actually do here is he can actually, since he peeled a Crux, he could just Crux away everything but the Dragon Lord, and then set it up next turn to go Ugin kill Dragon Lord, so he leaves the Ugin. Because if Josh plays Ugin and minuses it, then he knows the Death Mist Raptor is going to kill
Face down Death Mist Raptor, which is colorless, and therefore surrounds Ugin.
The only problem with not using Ugin, I guess no matter what, you can't exile all the Death Mist Raptors. So I think actually kind of like Cruxing. One reason to Crux is that you end up with a bunch of Death Mists in the graveyard, which is definitely problematic, but you end up potentially with an Ugin surviving at the end. So.
No, I see your point. You talked me into the Crux line. And that's where Josh landed too. Destroy all non-dragons. Dromoka's going to get another attack in, but Josh is a control player. The only point of life that matters is the last one.
Yeah, and Brian doesn't have a way to really get extra damage through. And Brian can't play Silumgar, and he knows about the Disdainful Stroke. He saw it with Thoughtseize. He took the Crux instead. So this turn, Brian basically needs to draw something pretty nice. He's got Haven, though, so he does have access to more threats here.
Dromoka attacks. Brian, seems like this is just land go.
Yeah, you clearly cannot play Silumgar here.
Ashiok is Josh's draw.
Ashioks have not impressed me that much in this matchup. I don't think that they're bad. I mean, I think that they're a way to pressure Brian when he doesn't have early plays, but man, Josh just keeps drawing them and having them be mediocre. I guess that's just Ashiok's lot in life, is to sometimes be awesome and sometimes be really mediocre. Like there are very few times when Ashiok lands in between.
Yeah, I'm a Kunio disciple from way back. Kunio says the card's bad. I'm inclined to just believe him.
I think Kunio is very smart, but Kunio does have he has binary ratings though.
Yeah, he does. He's got his idiosyncrasies, and he certainly thinks in extremes. Like I said, I didn't say I was thinking it through myself and concluding that he was right. I'm a disciple. So there's Ugin. Ugin kills Dromoka. Josh is able to pass the turn back with Disdainful Stroke. Brian has to decide if he wants to use his Haven here, I guess.
And he only has Ugin left to Haven, right?
Is that true?
Since the Dromoka got exiled.
Exiled, yeah. I don't remember if there's been any other dragons from earlier. Maybe our producer can take a look through Brian's graveyard and see if there's any other targets other than the Ugin.
So Haven costs enough mana that you're often going to want to use it in anticipation. You can't really just wait to see what you draw exactly. So I like getting back Ugin just because that is, I believe, the target. So Brian's hoping to draw Den Protector. Duress would also be good, or Thoughtseize.
Yeah. So they would.
Brian could also go Silumgar, get it Disdainful Stroked, and then next turn Haven back Silumgar.
Oh, that's not bad. That sounds better than getting Ugin, doesn't it?
I don't know what Ugin does exactly for you. If it resolves, clearly it's good, but
I mean, if it resolves, it
costs a lot of mana. And you're missing a land to cast it still.
No, isn't he up to 9 now? No, you're right. He's still at 8. Right, so this takes him off of Ugin.
Which is fine. I mean, you imagine you're going to draw a land at some point.
Yes.
I kind of like just casting Silumgar there and then hoping. No, the problem is if you you really need Silumgar to resolve. So your plan here is to go Caryatid because you can't cast Ugin. Next turn Ugin, it gets countered. Next turn Silumgar, but
ooh, there's Dissolve. Yeah, that amounts to the same thing as Silumgar and then Haven for Silumgar again. They both wind up pretty similar, I guess. Although if he goes for the Silumgar line, he would have been able to implement it a turn faster. Meanwhile, Ashiok does come down and start doing things. Brian with 2 giant threats in his hand, but Josh has accumulated 2 counters. Here's the Silumgar, or the Ugin. Here's the Ugin.
Yeah. 6 one way, half dozen the other. And Josh is giving up scrying, but making it so Kibler doesn't know what his last card is.
Downfall.
Downfall is interesting because now Downfall means you don't have to dissolve the Silumgar. You can just let it target and then Downfall it in response.
No, here's Brian. Here's his big finish. Dragonlord Silumgar. Don't forget also, by the way, he could have had a 3rd Haven. A million turns ago, he kept a Temple over a Haven because he didn't think he would need 3 this game. So he wanted to scry. Bunch of just really interesting micro decisions throughout this game, all of which seemed like they mattered.
Yeah, and both of these games I think were really close, and in both of these games there are a lot of decisions that, you know, had they gone a different way, then the result may have changed. Like, you know, in every given game of Magic, some games have 50 decisions and you could change all 49 of them and it wouldn't matter because at the end of the day the other person would have won. This game, it felt like there were 6 or 7 decisions that, you know, ended up impacting the game significantly.
Yep. All right, now Brian basically out of gas. Scryland is all he's got. Josh has a pair of Planeswalkers and a Dissolve in his hand. And just all of a sudden, this game went from parity, Brian maybe up a threat, just needed time to deploy them, to Josh being a million miles ahead.
Well, that's what Planeswalkers do, right? Planeswalkers, if you're winning, you win by a landslide.
Every turn, they do their thing. Well, Downfall feels like it may be too late.
Yeah. I'm going to say that.
Do you dissolve this?
I would imagine so. It's just like Ugin's just like so good that just having Ugin in play means that there's nothing Kibler can play that really competes with that. So
yeah. Josh Utter-Leyton, ladies and gentlemen.
If you ask the question, should you counter this, and then you counter it and your opponents concede, I think that's probably a pretty good sign that it was a good idea to counter it.
All right, so Josh wins 2-0. Esper Dragons finally breaks through. That deck had been 0-3 in Standard Super League play to this point, but a couple of wins from Josh Utter-Leyton, and he's through to the finals. If he wins one more match, he gets the 3 seed. He gets to go to the playoffs if he can win his next match. The question, though, who's he going to be playing against? Is he going to be playing against Brad Nelson, which would be bad news for Paul Cheon? If Brad wins, then Paul is out of the playoffs. Or is Josh going to be playing against Andrew Cuneo, who, by the way, no longer has anything to play for other than the joy of winning Magic matches? Andrew has clinched 7th place with that loss by Brian Kibler. Brian Kibler, unfortunately, has finished last. He will be relegated out of the league for next season.
Yeah, and this is it's funny that we see a lot of people, everyone who has rooting instincts, interests at stake are watching the matches. Like, you know, Paul's sitting there watching, and I guess at this point Brian is watching, but yeah. I guess his fate has been decided.
Brian Kibler's fate has been decided. He does finish ahead of Kenji Egashira, but he finishes in 8th place. We are going to take a quick break. We are going to set up for our second semifinal and maybe see if we can get Josh in. I guess he has to share your microphone. Maybe you can call him down to the computer over the course of this break, and we'll be back. Stay tuned, guys. 2 more matches to go.